We saw his star at its rising, and have come to do him homage. Alleluia, alleluia, alleluia.
The Lord be with you.
And with your spirit.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Matthew.
Glory to you, Lord.
When Jesus was born in Bethlehem of Judea, in the days of King Herod, behold, Magi from the east arrived in Jerusalem, saying, "Where is the newborn King of the Jews? We saw his star at its rising, and have come to do him homage." When King Herod heard this, he was greatly troubled, and all Jerusalem with him. Assembling all the chief priests and the scribes of the people, he inquired of them where the Christ was to be born. They said to him, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for thus it has been written through the prophet, and you, Bethlehem, land of Judah, are by no means least among the rulers of Judah, since from you shall come a ruler who is to shepherd my people, Israel." Then Herod called the Magi secretly and ascertained from them the time of the star's appearance. He sent them to Bethlehem and said, "Go and search diligently for the child. When you have found him, bring me word, that I too may go and do him homage." After their audience with the king, they set out. And behold, the star that they had seen at its rising preceded them, until it came and stopped over the place where the child was. They were overjoyed at seeing the star, and on entering the house, they saw the child with Mary, his mother. They prostrated themselves and did him homage. Then they opened their treasures and offered him gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And having been warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they departed for their country by another way. The Gospel of the Lord.
Praise to you, Lord Jesus Christ.
Many people spent their Christmas this year like the wise men, watching the stars. They weren't gazing up in the night sky at the Milky Way, though, but at a galaxy far, far away. There are many of the old stars there, but also many new stars appeared, all shining in another exciting episode of Star Wars. Could you imagine spending your whole life watching the stars? Someone tried last week. They watched 46 straight hours of the new Star Wars movie, 19 total showings, until they finally won the Star Wars Ultimate Fan Contest. But no, I'm talking about the Magi. The Magi were ancient stargazers. The Magi who go and visit the baby Jesus and bring him gifts of gold and frankincense and myrrh, they were stargazers. They believed that by looking at the stars and figuring out the positions of the constellations and the planets and the other movements, that they could tell something about life. They could gain some hints about the future, about the meaning of life, about what God's will was for us. Indeed, the Magi, they lived mostly in Persia, which is modern-day Iran. They were one of the few groups in the Old Testament, in the ancient world, other than the Jews, to believe in one God. How could they not believe after looking up at the awesomeness of the night sky their whole lives? As Ralph Waldo Emerson once said, even if the stars shone just a single night in 1,000 years, how would men believe and obey? The Magi were known for practicing astrology, for interpreting dreams, for doing tricks with fire. That's why we get the words magic and magician from Magi. The Magi were also the scientists of the ancient world, though. Just like modern-day astronomers, they knew all of the ins and outs of the stars and their movements better than the ultimate Star Wars fan knows all of the ins and outs of Star Wars. And just like the ultimate fan was excited when a new episode of Star Wars was coming out, so the Magi were overjoyed when a new star suddenly appeared in the sky. In their belief system, the birth of a new star in the heavens represented the birth of a new king here on earth. And so they follow the star wherever it leads, ultimately to Bethlehem, where they find the baby Jesus, and they worship him as their new king. Where do we go for the answer to our questions about life? Who am I? Where do I come from? Where am I going? What is my purpose in life? Do I look for the answer in the stars, in the wonders of nature? Many people have. There's a whole tradition of believers following the Magi who studied nature to try to figure out the meaning of life. Sometimes science and faith seem to be in tension with each other, but actually they go very well together because they're both searches for the truth. Copernicus, the first scientist to figure out that the sun was just another star around which the earth was revolving, he was a Catholic priest. As was George Lemaitre, the 20th century scientist who came up with the Big Bang Theory. Gregor Mendel, the father of modern genetics, was an Augustinian monk. And Louis Pasteur, the great biologist, was a devout Catholic and family man. It's no accident that modern-day science comes out of Christian civilization, because you only begin to study nature in any depth if you believe that nature has an order and a purpose to it that you can come to know. If you believe that lightning is just a divine punishment of a god like Zeus, you're not very likely to study its electrical properties. Science can tell us a lot about life, but it can't give us all the answers. Science can tell us a lot about what the world is like, but not necessarily a whole lot about why it is like that. Science teaches us a lot about the world outside of ourselves, but not necessarily a whole lot about the world inside of us. Science can show us a lot about visible reality, but not necessarily a whole lot about invisible reality. So we need more than science. And I think people know that. People know that science doesn't answer all of their questions. That's why there's an explosion of spiritual seeking in our culture. People are fascinated by spirituality, by psychology, by the New Age, by myths and stories. I think that's why Star Wars is so popular. It might be more science fiction than science, but in its depiction of good versus evil, the light versus the darkness, in its sense that we're called by a higher power to a purpose in life, in its hope for redemption of even an evil character like Darth Vader, Star Wars says a lot of very important things. Why, even Han Solo, who in the original movie was something of a skeptic, saying that he had been from one end of the galaxy to the other and had never seen any evidence of an all-powerful force that runs our destiny. Hokey religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid. Even he has become something of a believer in this new movie. It's true, he says. The Force, the Jedi, all of it, it's true. Indeed, some people are so desperate for any answer to their questions that they've even turned Star Wars into a type of religion, worshiping at the Church of the Jedi and learning the ways of the Force. But even Star Wars falls short of answering all of our questions completely. Because, in the end, our universe is not run by an impersonal force, an energy field created by all life that surrounds us and penetrates us and ties the universe together. No, we know that the universe is run by a personal God who isn't created by life, he creates life. He's not an impersonal force, he's a divine person. That's why we say the Lord be with you instead of the force be with you. We know what God is like. God doesn't run the world by destiny, he runs the world by love and free will. He's not divided between a light side and a dark side. He is nothing but pure light. There's no dark side to God. Well, how do we know that? How do we know what God is like? If all of our science and our philosophy and even Star Wars can't answer all of our questions, then how do we know what runs the universe? We know because God has revealed himself to us. God has shown us who he is in his son Jesus. God saw the way that we were searching for answers, the way that we were looking for him in our science, in our philosophy, in our religion, in our myths. He didn't want to leave us without an answer to our question. And so he said, I'm going to send my son into this world, my own perfect image, so that you can learn through him what I am like. That's what we're celebrating on this feast day of the Epiphany, the fact that God has revealed himself to the nations through Jesus. In that sense, the Magi represent the very best of humanity, spiritually seeking, looking for the truth, studying nature. But all of their searching ends at the stable in Bethlehem. Because what do they find there? They find a baby wrapped in swaddling clothes and lying in a manger. And when they see him, they kneel down and worship because they know that all of their searching has come to an end. In that sense, the meaning of our life, the answer to all our questions, lies not in our searching at all. It lies in God's searching for us. God saw that all of our ingenuity and creativity was never going to come to the final answer, so he came searching for us, as if for a lost sheep. And it's his searching for us that gives meaning and direction to our lives. At the end of the new Star Wars movie, The Force Awakens, there's a scene, spoiler alert, in which, you haven't seen it? In which Rey sees a very important character at the end. And that scene was filmed on an island off the coast of Ireland. And it's called Skellig Michael. For hundreds of years, Christian monks lived on that island. And they built a monastery there. In fact, the steps that you see in the movie going up the mountain were carved by the monks. The monks went out there into the wilderness looking for meaning in their life, looking for answers. What they found was Jesus. Or rather, Jesus found them. As exciting as the search for Luke Skywalker is, the search for Jesus Christ is far more thrilling. He is not on a distant planet in a galaxy far, far away. He's not even in long ago Bethlehem. He's already very close to us in our hearts. We can search for him there. Like the Magi, may we never grow tired of searching for him. May we allow him to search for us. May we allow that desire for him to awaken in our hearts. He is there waiting for us. Ask him to reveal himself to you. If you're not sure, then say, Jesus, I want to believe in you. I want to know whether this is all just hokey religions and ancient practices, or whether you really are true. If you are there, help me. Put a star in my life that I can follow to find you. Allow that love that he has for you to awaken. And then you will find that the Lord will be with you.